Novus, the new voice. Vox Novus, the new dimension. Vox Novus, thought and movement leaders who will share from their experience and offer tools to help us navigate our rapidly changing world. My name is Victor Fuhrman. Welcome to Vox Novus, the new voice. Between 1995 and her transition in 1998, I supported and loved my late partner Judi through her challenge with cancer. I would be at her side during rounds of chemotherapy and would lighten her spirit by telling her jokes. Calling on an accumulated repertory of every joke I had ever heard, she would laugh or boo, depending on how good or bad the joke or my delivery was. It made the time in the chemo chair fly by and took her mind away from that daunting experience. I recently learned of an amazing oncologist who uses song to do the same thing for his patients. My guest this week on Vox Novus, Dr. Stephen Eisenberg, is known as the singing oncologist. Every day, Dr. Stephen helps patients fight cancer using both time-tested conventional therapies and innovative medical technologies. At the same time, he helps them overcome negative emotions by cultivating acceptance, love, and self-compassion in a deeply personal way through laughter, empathy, and the music he plays and sings for and with them. Dr. Eisenberg is a triple board certified physician in internal medicine, medical oncology, and hematology. Dr. Eisenberg is the co-founder of C-Care, California's largest medical oncology practice. He serves as the practice's medical director of integrative oncology, as well as its unofficial CEO, Chief Empathy Officer. He's also co-founder of WorkUp Inc., a collaboration platform for healthcare teams. His work has been featured on NBC's Today, as well as in People magazine, Huffington Post, U.S. News and World Report, Reader's Digest, and many other publications. He's the host of the Dr. Stephen Show and podcast. His website is drstephen.com, and he joins me to share his path, his compassionate approach, and his new book, Love is the Strongest Medicine, Notes from a Cancer Doctor on Connection, Creativity, and Compassion. Please join me in welcoming to Vox Novus Dr. Stephen. Welcome, Dr. Stephen.
Thanks, Victor. It's so awesome to be here. OMTimes. I love it. I've said Om probably 1 billion times in my life.
I think we all have.
You know what I say Om stands for?
Go ahead.
Outstanding medicine.
Wonderful. That's a first. I've never heard that before.
Yes, because it's like, it centers us and mind and body is everything, the mind-body connection. And there's no quicker way to center ourselves than yoga and meditation. And I have a quick story really fast. We had to take a mandatory physical education class at Penn State University. And I was I was in a fraternity with a bunch of New Yorkers and Philadelphians, and I chose to take yoga. This is 1988. They all made fun of me. What's this guy doing? He's standing on his head in the middle of in the fraternity house. And now that I'm getting every day, I get pictures, I get texts, I get emails. Hey, Steve, you were so ahead of your time. We're all doing yoga with our wives now.
That's wonderful to hear. I'm about 18 years older than you, and I was actually meditating when I was in school, in junior high school and high school, when people were looking at me like I was crazy.
You were ahead of the times, man. You were ahead of the times, and that's why it's perfect that you're the host of OMTimes.
OMTimes.
Outstanding medicine. Outstanding medicine. I'll tell you.
Outstanding medicine. Not to mention the fact that in your biography, as I shared, you are the CEO, the Chief Empathy Officer.
I've been dubbed that primarily because I believe empathy is everything. Empathy is everything in medicine, in life. And, I chose oncology because of the human side of cancer. We see such heroic behavior, but we see such beauty in when people are battling for their lives, nobody thinks, how am I going to be when I'm going through cancer? We never think of that. We never go there in our heads. Why would we? It's a horrible thought. We all think we're going to die pleasantly when we're 99 going on 100, surrounded by our family and friends, someone playing harp in the corner of the room, and we just drift off in the peace. We never think we're going to be, as I say, sort of stamped with this expiration date that we're given. Oh, how long do I have, doc? And then we're trained as doctors like 6 months, 9 months. It's horrible when you have to say that to a patient. And I always say, look, you are not a statistic. There are statistics, but you're a beautiful human being, a soul who happens to be going through this cancer experience. And we can use statistics if they're useful, but you are not a statistic. That's what I start with, Victor.
Not defining the patient by the disease, but by their humanity.
Yes, that is everything. That is empathy is everything. That's why I'll take the chief empathy officer every day as my title. It's part of it. And I say it's the most important part of being a doctor, really.
I agree with you. I've met many doctors who, let's say, were not part of the CEO breed, and and it's such a refreshing pleasure to meet someone like you and see the work that you do. So please tell us about your early life and what shaped your approach to practice.
Thanks, Victor. Great question. Well, I was flatlined on a road when I was 13 years old. I was in a horrible bike accident. A car hit me. I did a triple Lindy in the air, head bashed through the windshield. And my brain was so swollen that first night in the ICU, I just stopped breathing. That was it. And it took me a near-death experience to basically realize that I got a second chance at life. And I wanted to bring this idea of second chances to other people. And I was only 13 at the time. And at that point in my life, I just thought, don't die with your music in you. Don't die with regrets. Don't die having wanted to ask out that girl and not having done it. Don't die without expressing yourself. And I didn't know how that would shape up, Victor. I didn't know that it would be writing songs for cancer patients and creating little ditties of inspiration to help people get through chemo. I had no idea what it would mean, but it meant bring second chances. You got a second chance. You really shouldn't be here is what I would tell myself. There was a great chance you were a goner. Absolutely. And I got this second chance. I couldn't speak for a month. I had expressive aphasia. The speech center of my brain was so swollen and messed up. I had to write everything I wanted to express. And the first things that made sense out of my mouth was, Billie Jean is not my love. My mom brought in my Thriller tape. It was 1983. And the first thing I could do was make a song, make lyrics. And it happened to be Thriller. It was the number one album of all time at that point, and I knew every damn word. And so that's the first thing that made sense. So music always touched me in this special way, and little did I know I would be a songwriter oncologist for those who need song and love and laughter more than anyone, in my humble opinion.
Absolutely. It's interesting about music specifically. I am not musical at all. I can't, if I had to sing for my supper, I'd starve. But I am lyrical and I am a poet, and the lyrics of songs that I remember from back in the 60s and 70s are well within my heart. And you asked me a song from that period of time that I resonated with, and I'll bring those lyrics out. What is there about music that does that for us?
It's like a straight shot to the amygdala. It's like your soul, your emotions. It's like when you hear a song, you're right back in 7th grade, and you're right back where the first time you heard it, or the dance when you're dancing with the person you had a crush on. And it's just a straight shot to your emotional centers of your brain, the amygdala. Yes, it's amygdala is part of emotion and impulsive behavior. When we were kids, we did impulsive things, but it also brings you to those emotional, soul-searching feelings that you had as a child, and even as an adult. So it really just like certain smells, you can remember things. The music, it's just a straight center to your soul, as how I see it. And I did research on when you at Penn State, I did neuroscience, and I did a paper on, when you hear a song and you get the chills, you're so moved by it.
Yes.
I wanted to know, what's the neuro pathway that when you hear a song, you're so moved that you get the goosebumps. Yeah. And so, yes, it all comes down to those pathways that lead to the amygdala and your emotional centers. And it's beautiful. It's just beautiful. And I thought, well, if I'm writing songs and I was, I take my poetry and just put them to music. You are a songwriter. You just don't have music to them yet.
Actually, I've been afforded the opportunity. I'm a part of the ministry team for the Interfaith Temple, and one of the co-ministers is a talented, wonderful singer and musician, and she's taken my poetry and set it to her music. So I am a composer of music at this point.
You're a lyricist.
I'm a lyricist.
You're a lyricist.
Yes, sir. I'm a lyricist.
I love it. I tell you, there's something that when you hear a song, and it's about you, and it's about what you love and what moves you and touches you and inspires you, and how you met your loved one, and how you were like, what you were like as a child, and what you want to have on a billboard that's just your writing, what you want to express to the world, and you hear it back in a little 2 to 3 minute ditty, something shifts in your brain. Absolutely. and you start to feel healing vibes. And that's mind-body connection. And we need everything. We need everything at our disposal, Victor, when we're fighting cancer, don't we?
Absolutely. So let's get back to your youth for a second. So you had that experience. How did you wind up choosing a career in medicine?
Well, I come from a long line of doctors. My father, his 2 brothers, my older cousin, all went to the same medical school. So for me, I had to make a decision because I got really into the mind-body connection in college, and I did love being at my dad's office when I was a kid. And I'd love seeing the look in the patient's eyes when he would make them smile and make them laugh and listen to their heart, and then he'd let them hear their heart. And he's just a great doctor. So I had a really good role model. But here's the kicker. He went to art school before he went to medical school.
Oh.
I got to see the art. I mean, literally the art of medicine before there was in my own life, the art of medicine. He's a beautiful artist, my father. He could draw anything, paint anything, and play any song on the piano from ear.
Wow. So
this was a model for me that, I was a little different. I wanted to do laughter and music for patients. And because I grew up loving Steve Martin and Andy Kaufman, like really out there comedians. And I wanted to bring love and laughter to medicine. And I thought, when I was going through it, who needs that? Where could I make a little nudge? Where could I make a little dent in this universe of medicine? And it ended up being oncology, because I thought, where's this dark space that could use a little light, use a little yoga, meditation, but wrap it up in a song and a little music and a little smile. And that's where it all started. I said, if I'm going to go to med school, I want to bring art to whatever I do. I didn't know it would be songs. I would go and play open mics when I was in med school to just de-stress. A buddy of mine, Jared Fingerman, and I, we'd go to the Grape Street pub in Manayunk, and we'd start playing, and we would just feel so alive after a stressful day, doing all the work we had to do and all the things we had to memorize, music brought us back to life after we felt like zombies after a crazy day. And so I decided I'm going to start writing. It started off really as poems for patients, just like you. But I said, you know what? I'm going to put it to music, original lyrics. And that came about from a very weird situation. I was written a song by one of my favorite artists, Peter Himmelman. Peter Himmelman, a Grammy-nominated artist, had a contest. I got an email one day. Peter's having a contest. Write a short story of how his music has impacted your life. The grand prize, he'll write you a song. And little did I know, I wrote about this beautiful song he has called Mission of My Soul. Please look it up. Let's link it here. Mission of My Soul. And so I wrote how that song would get me through those 3 a.m. nights, those 4 a.m. calls as an intern, when you're sleepless and you're just, you're doing your best and you're just barely hanging on. And what got me through those nights was I had to recall what my mission of my soul was. And I put on the song. It's a beautiful song about reconnecting to the mission of your soul. And so I wrote this and I won the prize. And he wrote a song about this entire story. And at the time when this all went down, I was a burned out young oncologist. I was getting caught up in being number one and building the most successful practice and making all my partners so proud of me and having to be the best and having to be glorious and having to beat out all the other oncologists in the area. And guess what was collecting dust in the corner?
Mm-hmm.
My guitar.
Absolutely.
I forgot who I was, Victor. I forgot who I wanted to be as an oncologist. I forgot who I committed myself to being in this world of cancer, of bringing light and love to oncology patients. And I was feeling horrible. I felt sick and I was having symptoms of stress. I was having symptoms of stress-related illness myself. I was not sleeping. I was losing weight. I couldn't digest well. All of the symptoms that I was trying to help patients with as they're going through cancer, because that's a horrible stress on the system, and the psychological stress of could I die from this? I mean, that is like post-traumatic stress. Yep. And here I'm going through it myself, and it was the song that was the first step. Hearing that back and hearing my life back in what I wanted to be in a lyric, in a song from my favorite artist, jump-started me back to health and back to rediscovering who I was as a doctor and as a human being.
I was actually fascinated to see in your book, Love is the Strongest Medicine, that you actually tried out for SNL.
I've tried out for a lot of things, man. I went to Broadway. You're in New York. That show Rent? Have you heard of that show? Rent?
Absolutely.
I love that show when it was out, and I was in med school when it was hitting its top stride, and I don't know where I even found out about it, but there was open auditions were being called. And this was before the internet. I don't even know how I knew about this. So I dropped everything one day and drove up to New York. And I did an open audition for Rent with my guitar. And I went in there and I did the first song, November 24th, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I was doing the whole thing. And they're like, thank you very much. We'll get back to you. But you know what? I had to do it. It was one of those don't die with your music still in you moments.
Absolutely.
And that's a Wayne Dyer line, and I give him full credit for that, but I try to live by that. Don't die with your music still in you. That means so much, right? It means show your love. If you love someone tell them now while they're alive and they can hear it. You know, I say eulogize people when you can look at them straight in the eye. Look at them and eulogize them. I love you. And I have to tell you, Victor, I just met you a few moments ago, but as fellow humans, I love you, man. Like you told me a beautiful story about Judi, your first partner. And I want you to tell us the story because I love you as a human being already, because I can just hear in your voice what a beautiful human being you are. You were meditating in high school when no one else was. You're like a soul brother. And I can't tell you how much I love you already.
I love you too, Dr. Stephen. I feel exactly the same way. I just want to touch on one more point before we go into our next segment. You were the first recipient of the Dr. Emanuel Fliegelman Humanitarian Award for the doctor most exhibiting highly compassionate care during residency, and have won numerous hospital awards for your uniquely empathic bedside manner. Now, I remember in the book you said that Dr. Fliegelman was known to the students as Uncle Manny. Please tell us about him and how he inspired you.
Oh, God. I'm so glad you asked about Uncle Manny. You know, he is smiling down on us right now. The first day of med school, we're all sitting there. And they have this thing called the white coat ceremony. They have these little short white coats you wear as a third year. But you put them on, and in the front of the room marches in Uncle Manny, Dr. Emanuel Fliegelman. He looks at all of us with these blue eyes, and he's got a smile, but he's very serious at the same time. And he's looking at all of us, and he says, for all of you here today who do not have compassion in your hearts, there is the door. And he points.
Wow.
And we're all, he shocked us into compassion. He gave us my first dose of CPR, compassion, presence, and resilience. He shocked us as these deer in the headlight new first day of medical school, the white coat ceremony. And then I got to slowly know him. I said to myself, I got to know this guy, because I instantly, I loved him, because here I am, I wanted to really just learn about compassion and empathy. And this is all I wanted to do. And as a doctor, here's the guy leading with that. He led it. He bled it, And the thing is, he was an OBGYN. It was him and Dr. Saul Jack, this dynamic duo. Saul Jack was like a comedian. He was like Jackie Mason in an OBGYN white coat. He was so funny. And so was Uncle Manny, but he had compassion. He just, everything he said was from empathy. And so I did rotations with him, and I almost became an OBGYN. It just wasn't for me in the end. But oncology was very close. It was just very close. And he said, you'd be good for oncology, he said to me, because you get it. You get the 10 C's. And he also that same day told us the 10 C's. And those are compassion, connection, creativity, contact, and there's more. But he gives us the 10 C's, and they're all in the book. And I have the piece of paper from that first day. I wrote down the 10 C's, and I keep it on my desk. I framed it. And this book is, if it's nothing else, it's a love letter to Dr. Manny, Uncle Manny, because he died several years ago of a bone marrow disorder. Little did I know at the time, he had a severe bone marrow disorder that now I treat hundreds of times a year. Uncle Manny had that, but he was just a beacon. I call him a beacon of empathy, a light, and he just exuded love.
My guest is Dr. Stephen Eisenberg. He's the author of Love is the Strongest Medicine. Dr. Stephen, please tell our listeners where they can get your book and find out more about you and the amazing stuff that you do.
Well, Love is the Strongest Medicine is available anywhere you can get books, Amazon, anywhere, but also on drsteven.com, drsteven.com with a V, drsteven. And there I write every single day. I've been writing a little daily dose blog since January 1st, 2017. I haven't missed a day. And that's like a 30-second read of inspiration. And in the book, some of the chapters start off with some of the best little daily doses, just 2 to 3 lines. You can get the book there. And when you do, on drsteven.com, you can also join my Cancer Fight Club, which is a brand new private Facebook group where we're going to have the most compassionate support group for cancer in the world. And we're going to teach the little teachings in the book every week. And we're all going to get together and support each other. And cancer oncology is about living. It's not about dying. It's about living and being alive.
Absolutely. The wisdom of Dr. Steven Eisenberg. Will be back with more after these words on the OMTimes Radio Network.
Free your mind with OMTimes Radio, IOM FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Back on Vox Novus, my guest this week is Dr. Steven Eisenberg. He's the author of Love is the Strongest Medicine. So let's start talking about your practice. And when did music first become a part of your active practice?
Well, it saved me. It saved me. It saved my practice. It saved my patients, I think. It was when I was in a very dark place, and I always wanted to bring the guitar into the chemo suite, but I was too preoccupied at the time. Physician burnout's a real thing, and so is 1 out of every 2 doctors experiences symptoms of burnout. Primary doctors, family practice, ER, internal medicine, the front line. And, the pandemic just made it worse. And so I was burned out, Victor, and I was only a few years into practice, and I was completely burned out because I was just wanting to win so badly, wanting to be so good, so perfect all the time. And I couldn't forgive myself. I couldn't just slow down and take care of myself. I was becoming so wrapped up in the business of oncology, of trying to be successful and be number one, that I forgot what was number one in my heart: love and empathy and compassion. And it was those things that brought my guitar into the chemo suite for the very first time. This was maybe 10, 12 years ago at this point. And at first it was just, I felt silly. What are my partners going to think? They're going to make fun of me. He's bringing his guitar into the chemo suite. And it started off as I called it a chemo concert. They weren't personalized songs yet. It was just, I was going in there playing a Beatles tune. And then I would ask someone, hey, what's your favorite thing about your life when you get out of this place and you go home? And Barbara said, oh, I have 10 cats and 5 dogs. And that became Barbara's lyrics. She's got 5 cats, she's got 10 dogs, and I love Barbara. She is the best. And I would just start writing these little songs, and she would laugh. And so would her neighbor. And they would say afterwards, I'd stop playing, and then it'd say, play one more. We forgot we were getting chemo for 5 minutes. And that's when I first said, I'm onto something. It started off as a pleasant distraction. And I had to go through, I'm going to look silly and my partners might come in and roll their eyes or whatever. But guess what? The patients loved it. The nurses loved it. The other doctors started to love it. And they'd come in and they'd say, that was pretty good. You should think about doing that again. And so this is how it started. And you know what? At the end of the day, I felt more alive as a doctor than I did getting any kind of award, best internal medicine doctor, whatever it was. I felt more alive at the end of those days. And I felt my own symptoms starting to go relieve. My migraines were going away. My irritable bowel was going away. Here I was a mess, Victor, and it was the songs that started to take me from mess to true success, from mess to success. It was the creativity that I needed to bring into the chemo room and honor. I had to meld the two worlds. That's what started my own love of my own profession, the true love of being a doctor.
Absolutely. How did those colleagues react after a while? Did they your initial reaction? What kind of reaction did you get from them?
What's he doing? Look, we know he's all about kumbaya. He's the touchy, he loves the human side of cancer, the support groups. He loves all of that. He's really into the soft side of oncology. And
have any of them joined you in song?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes. Now they've come in and they've sat next to me and we've done it together. And even at the holiday parties every year, when we were having in-person holiday parties, every year they must have a song from me, or they say it's not a true C-Care holiday party. Mm-hmm. So every year there's a song, and no, I got eyes. I did get some eye rolling, and what's he up to? But little did they know that it was saving me. It was saving my soul, and the patients really gave me some good feedback, and that's what led into the original songs with a full songwriting session where we go deep. Most doctors, I think, your patients at a superficial level, right? You know them. Okay. Yeah. 65-year-old male, history of high blood pressure, history of lung cancer. And maybe a little bit about their family that they share. These songs, I'm learning about what they were like as a child, how they met their loved ones, how they were in school, how they were out of school, how they decided to do their profession, and we go deep, and these little tidbits that are shared turn into lines, lyrics, and then the idea for the tune comes up, and you can't have a better muse. You can't have a better muse than someone who's fighting for their life and sharing their life with you.
Now, is every one of your patients open to a personal song?
No, not everyone. Not everyone. It runs the full gamut, Victor. Some people will come in how did you meet me? I saw that you write songs for your patients and I want one right now. And they put me on the spot. And then there's the gamut, then you got the other side of the spectrum that says, I love that you do this, but it's not quite for me. But I'd say most patients are in the middle where they do love it, and it's usually at a celebration point, like we finished your chemo, you have your last chemo, and it's fun when I get to sometimes go to their home and do this little celebration of life, and sometimes it's a celebration of life even after they've passed. The first song I ever did was a wonderful piano teacher. And the second half of our visits, we're always talking about the beautiful healing power of music. And that was the first song I ever did. And I played his song at his memorial, at his life memorial. And his piano students were there, and I was there. And we ended up playing the song, and some of his piano students were accompanying me on the piano. And it was just beautiful. It was just he was so in the room, right? It was just beautiful. That's when I really knew. That's when I really knew.
Absolutely. You briefly touched upon feedback that you've gotten from patients and families. Share a little more with us.
Well, okay. I feel validated. I feel gotten. I feel like someone's heard me at the soul level. Even when I'm not here, I know this song will be there. The song will live on. These are the things that I'm being told. And I'm like, there's deep sense of just like, you get me. You get me. And you don't hear that too much in life. I mean, even your own family sometimes doesn't get you at the soul level. And so it was just this deep sense of peace, they say, this deep sense of validation. And just many times it's a spark of creativity. I've had patients say, I used to write poetry. And after we wrote our song together, because remember, I'm not writing it, Victor. We're writing it together.
Absolutely.
And they say, I felt creative after that. And I started writing my poetry again that I haven't done since college. It's just this creative expression. And it just makes them smile, makes them laugh. A lot of the lyrics are silly, because I want them to laugh. I want them to hear their life back in a beautiful, fun way. It's never a line about cancer. It's always a line about what makes them smile.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just what makes them laugh and smile and feel good.
And have other art forms, in addition to the music and the poetry, been brought into this process?
Yeah, I've tried to do a little stand up in the in the chemo room, and I have an awful joke. I have a really bad joke that I lead off with saying, I know this might seem a little weird, guys, but you're sort of stuck here, so you can't just walk out on me. So it's like, but they love the vulnerability. Because now I'm human. When I tell a joke and it's like wah wah, like it's not hitting, I'm human. When I sing, I'm not perfect. I'm not going to win America's Got Talent, but it's not about that. It's about that they can see their doctor creating with them and being not perfect. And that's the beauty of humanity. The imperfection, the vulnerability brings people closer together. And it prevents burnout.
Absolutely.
It prevents burnout. When you're taught in medical school to build a barrier between you and your patients, that's not the way, Victor. That's the opposite. It's break down the wall and let people in, meet them where they're at, and love them as a shared human a soul going through a human experience, right?
Human to human. That's ultimately the way all interaction between people should be.
Isn't it? And I think you were telling me, and please, I want to talk about your loved one, your first loved one, Judi.
I had shared with you. Yeah, I'd shared with you in our introduction that my late partner, Judi, who passed away in January of 1998, had gone through a 3-year battle with cancer. And when she was going through chemo, I would sit by her side and hold her hand, and I would tell her every joke I could ever remember in my life. And I'm very good at remembering jokes. And some would result in laughter, and some would result in boos. But nonetheless, it made the session so light for her and so tolerable for her, and took her mind away from I'm getting chemotherapy for cancer. And that was the secret.
Yeah, because laughter connects people. Music connects people. Love connects people. The book is about connection at all costs. It doesn't have to be a song. It doesn't have to be a joke. It could be sitting down and sometimes I just ask Edith, hey, Edith, what's your favorite song? And we'll go, I'll bring it up on YouTube or Spotify and we'll just listen to it together. Sometimes it turns into a dance. And I have a little silly program I call Dancing with the Doctor, where we put on their favorite song and we dance for 2 minutes. Wonderful. And I spin them. And of course, now we do it in masks. But when's the last time you were spun or dipped by your doctor? Of course, I never drop them. but it's breaking down the things that you don't think you can do with the doctor. You can, and you should.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How does tapping into this creativity shift the focus and the perspective to the upside of the treatment?
Because now we've got your brain firing on different cylinders. We've got your mind and body as our ally, as our incredible ally. And now we've got endorphins firing. We've got other brain chemicals firing. We've got serotonin on full cylinder. We've got less depression. Cortisol levels are dropping. The physiology behind brain and the mind-body connection, they're off the charts. Laughter decreases cortisol, increases endorphins. Your pain receptors, the threshold for pain goes up. It's unbelievable when you have this ally now it's beyond the regular chemo and all you still have to do that. But now we've got the other powerful things that can't always be quantified. We have those as our ally. And now we are fighting with the spirit as well. And there's, like I said, the studies are showing. The latest study. There's a beautiful book that I just discovered doing research for my own book. It's called Compassionomics. And it's showing the actual physiologic benefits of compassion. Two people getting the same exact treatment. One delivered with compassion, one delivered just, regular, call it. The people who have the compassion delivered care do better. Absolutely. It's in the book.
Absolutely.
It's in this book. So I was like, maybe I was onto something like all those years ago. I think I was onto something. And now it's just all sort of come being chronicled in this book. And it's for anyone that's struggling with any kind of chronic problem, chronic disease, depression, anything. It doesn't just have to be cancer.
His name is Dr. Stephen Eisenberg. His book, Love is the Strongest Medicine. We'll be back with more after these words on the OMTimes Radio Network.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes Magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
Humanity Healing International is a small nonprofit with a big dream. Since 2007, HHI has been working tirelessly to bring help to communities with little or no hope. Our projects are not broad mandates, nor are they overnight solutions, but they bring the reassurance that no one is alone and that someone cares. To learn more, please visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance. care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with, all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week, she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
A message brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that our daughters have what they need to grow and learn. But that isn't the case for nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. that struggle with hunger.
Childhood hunger is a heartbreaking reality that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and provides it to families and children in need.
You can help kids in need in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Back on Vox Novus, my guest this week is Dr. Stephen Eisenberg. We're talking about his book, Love is the Strongest Medicine. In what other ways do you empower your patients and their families during the treatments?
Well, it all starts when you're in the room together. Eye contact. Just looking at the patient and the loved ones in the eye and showing them that you care, and ending the visit with a hug, listening from love. If you break down love, Victor, you can break down the 4 letters into listening, observing, verbalizing, and empathizing. And you've got a room, a 15 by 15 exam room, and you've got 15 minutes, 20 minutes. What can you do to show people that you care and that you love them as a human being? Well, you can listen. You can not just wait for your turn to talk and go, well, this is what you have to do, and you've got 6 months and blah, blah, blah. No, you listen. What are you struggling with today? And then you shut up. You listen. And while they're talking, you're looking them in the eyes. You're observing their body language. That's where so listening from the heart. You're observing their body language because they might be saying one thing, but their body language is telling you another thing because your body keeps the score. Another great book, right? So what are they telling you and what's going through your body as they're communicating? Verbalizing from love. So verbalizing from a place of shared humanity and where they can understand you. You have to be able to explain things in a way where people get it. And then lastly, empathizing, really getting into their shoes. I see young women with breast cancer, 30, 40 years old, with 2 young children. I think about, that's my wife. That's my wife. And that's me sitting next to her. How would I want the doctor to talk to me? I'm sitting over there next to my wife with our 2 young girls in 2004. How would I want that interaction to go? And that's love, Victor. That's what I can do. And that's what I try to do every day. Am I perfect? No, I'm not perfect.
So you become a validator rather than a doctor.
Yes. That's a beautiful way of putting it. That's what the songs are. I'm validating you. I'm loving you. I get you. I hear you. I'm with you. We're co-conspirators. Powerful partnership. That's what it has to be in my estimation, or it's not worth a damn. It's a powerful partnership. We've got to say, you're the boss. I'm your quarterback. You own the team. I'm just your Tom Brady. You own the team. And what's the championship? Getting you through this treatment, getting you into remission. Let's do it. But you call the shots. I'm going to just run the plays and give you every option under the sun.
Have other doctors adapted your approach, and should this type of engagement be part of mandatory medical school curriculum?
Yes, it should. It should. And yes, other doctors, my partners started, it started with my own partners. And now I see it going out like a ripple in the pond. The ripples are going out into the hospitals that I go to, because I go in and I get consulted and we have to do end of life talks, and I'm sitting there and I'm talking to someone about end of life, and the hospitalists are sitting right next to me, and they're like, I get it. I see why this makes a huge difference, because and the ripples do go out, and this book is being gifted to every graduating medical student from Uncle Manny's and my alma mater.
Wonderful.
In this very graduation. And you're not going to believe this. Talk about timing. They're graduating the day before it officially comes out into the world. And they'll be gifted it. And it just can't, if one new doctor reads it and gets it and becomes a little more compassionate when they go out into their internship and they go out into the world of doctoring, I did my job, Victor.
Absolutely. What is the state of cancer care today, and are there new treatments on the horizon?
It's exploding. It's a brand new field from when I started. I started in 1999 at Georgetown and finished in 2002. And now we have what's called personalized oncology, otherwise known as precision oncology. So we've got immunotherapy, we've got CAR T treatment. What the heck is this? What it is we can test the mutations in the genome, in the patient's genome, that's turning on the cancer, that's causing it to grow. And then we have new oral treatments and sometimes IV treatments that can target those molecular abnormalities that are making the cancer proliferate. And we're seeing amazing results. Now, not every cancer can do this. We have a long way to go with things like pancreatic cancer and lung cancer. But talk about melanoma for a second. In melanoma, stage 4, 20 years ago, that was pretty much it. 3-4 months. Say, get your affairs in order. That was horrible. Now, stage 4 melanoma in the brain. Have you heard of Jimmy Carter lately?
Absolutely.
Stage 4 melanoma in his brain, doing great. No signs of cancer because of immunotherapy. So immunotherapy, biologics, precision oncology, CAR T for kids, young kids who had ALL, where they've gone through every treatment. Nothing's working. We can now take out their T lymphocytes and inject this beautiful new gene that will help the lymphocytes recognize the leukemia cells as bad. It's called CAR T therapy. And now we're seeing 70, 80% remissions where they couldn't have any hope 10 years ago.
Wonderful.
It's unbelievable what's happening in oncology. It's an explosion of innovation. And yes, it's so important, but we also need an explosion in innovation in compassion. And that's what this book's about. It's taking the best of the best, meaning take the best of science, but also take the best of the human spirit and combine them. Combine them. Do your immunotherapy. Do your biologics. Get your molecular analysis. Every tumor can be sequenced for hundreds of genes now. Every tumor should be sequenced with what's called next-gen sequencing. And if you don't know what that is, ask your oncologist. But now we need a revolution in compassion in oncology, because the science is beautiful. The science is great, but we've got to deliver it with our hearts. We've got to deliver it with our minds and our hearts. And that's going to help patients do even better. And that's what Love is the Strongest Medicine's about. It's loving yourself. It's loving each other. It's loving our profession. It's loving the patients, loving the families, loving each other as shared human beings having an experience together.
The wisdom of Dr. Stephen Eisenberg, his book, Love is the Strongest Medicine. Dr. Stephen, please tell our listeners where they can get your book and find out more about you and this amazing work.
Love is the Strongest Medicine. Just Google it. drsteven.com, drsteven with a V.com. Join the Cancer Fight Club. That's right there in the site. Anywhere books are sold. It's from Hay House, which is really my dream publisher. You know, they published the guy who said, "Don't die with your music still in you," Wayne Dyer. So I mean, like that sentence changed my life, and now that publisher is publishing my book. So I feel blessed, and I feel blessed to have met you today, Victor Fuhrman, because you are one amazing human being.
We are brothers, my friend. We are brothers, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your wisdom and your message. And people, check out his daily dose. Go to his website and find out about the daily dose. That's inspiration for every day.
Every little day. And remember, OMTimes. OMTimes. And OM has 3 M's now. Outstanding, mindful, magical medicine.
Absolutely.
OMTimes with Victor.
Thank you so much, Dr. Stephen. And thank you for joining us on Vox Novus. I'm Victor, the Voice Fuhrman. Have a wonderful week.